and CNBC-TV18 present India Energy Transition Summit.
Hello and welcome to this special conversation as part of Honeywell and CNBC-TV18's India Energy Transition Summit. I'm Mridu Bhandari. India is making big strides in reshaping its energy future, but with energy demand rising by 8% this year alone, the pressure is on. Hard-to-abate sectors like power, steel, refining and petroleum account for 60 to 65% of the country's 2.8 gigatons of annual CO2 emissions, and achieving net zero by 2070 means tackling these emissions in these industries with innovative technologies that balance growth with sustainability. Joining us today to share insights on how Honeywell's cutting-edge solutions can drive this transformation is Ranjit Kulkarni, Vice President and General Manager, Energy and Sustainability Solutions at Honeywell India. Ranjit, welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you, Mrudu, and thank you for having me here on talking about this exciting topic.
Well, India has set an ambitious goal of going for net zero emissions by 2070. Give us a sense of what is happening at Honeywell on the technology front. How are you enabling India on this ambitious journey? And give us a sense of the key innovations that you are offering in terms of clean energy solutions.
So there's a saying that charity begins at home. Practice before you preach. In 2004 itself, before the word sustainability was a buzzword, Honeywell started its journey on carbon neutrality. Everybody has now made a commitment, so we also have made a commitment to be carbon neutral by 2035. If you look at Honeywell India, we are already halfway plus through that mark. So that's our own journey. But what are we doing for the industry? The industry I represent, for example, energy and sustainability solutions, we look at the two major sources, correct? So today, major energy comes from oil and gas sector, where we provide our technologies. What we are today in terms of clean technology innovation is we are trying to see how we can make same products or same amount of product with half amount of resources or even lower. So which means using every chemical molecule or every drop of crude oil very wisely. We are minimizing wastage. Anything that heat goes, today 50% of the cost of operation is associated with heating and cooling in a refinery. We are trying to make sure that all the heat that goes in is captured and very less goes to the waste. So first is efficient carbon management, second efficient heat management. Third, we also look at how we can incorporate the new kind of feedstock that are coming in. Today we all talk about new energies. What are these new energies? It's the renewable source of electricity, so sun, wind, power. How we can use those energies driving more electrification of refinery. How we can use the biofuels which are being made from a refinery. How can they coexist in a refinery? How can we use reuse or recycle some of the stuff that goes, for example, waste tires. We can reuse or recycle, make it in pyrolysis oil and recycle back into the refinery to make same plastics. So how do we reduce, reuse and recycle? So that's the motto we have been driving for doing the refinery existing assets. Inevitably, some CO2 get generated at using current technologies. Yeah. How do we capture that CO2 and take it further into more important processes? So that's what we are also looking towards, the decarbonization part of it. And the third one is an efficiency improvement, is how do we make sure that when we're doing all of this, we're actually reducing the footprint, not adding more, using everything synchronized way to minimize any losses. So these are the three big steps we are taking towards a cleaner energy environment.
Right. And what are Honeywell's plans regarding the India opportunity in terms of carbon capture? Because carbon capture technology seems to be offering big opportunities to technology companies here. Where are you positioned on that? What are some of the unique challenges of the Indian market when it comes to carbon capture utilization and storage value chain as a whole?
So Honeywell has a multiple technology offerings in carbon capture space. The key things to understand is where are you taking the carbon from or capturing the carbon from, and where are you going to use it. Indian geography does not support a lot of carbon sequestration, and we do not want that. Our idea is to valorize carbon. If we capture carbon, what else can I do with it? Currently, if we look at a small portion of it goes in the food grade industry, correct? Whether it's making this beverages, where CO2 goes. some goes into dry ice used for transportation, but those are very limited quantities. The amount of carbon we need to capture, the big sources will be, for example, let's take that carbon and convert it into e-fuels. SAF, for example, sustainable fuel. That's one option which will grow as a further. Second option could be, why don't we take that carbon, capture it in form of cement aggregates and use it in building industry. It solves the problem for a cement industry because they need that, correct? So we are looking at multiple or hard to abate sectors like cement and steel, where we can use that carbon capture and convert it into more useful products like e-fuels or other options.
What are some of the new technologies that Honeywell is offering and implementing to really help with India's renewable energy storage capacity? And what are the big challenges that face us on that front?
As India is marching towards the 500 gigawatt goal, correct? I mean, today we are at 280, we are soon going to be, we will soon be 300 and then 500. One of the biggest issue with renewable electricity, if it comes through solar or say wind, it's its reliability, correct? So we need to have a storage solution to make it a reliable supply to the grid. So battery storage is an essential component for entire renewable electricity sector to be sustainable and also be consistent. So we do offer two solutions over here. One is for the short duration, a second is for a long duration. Long duration is required for giant power players who are going to supply huge quantity. They need huge amount of electricity to be stored to run the buildings and the cities. So that's where we bring into long duration energy storage. That's the storage part of it. However, we also need to manage how to connect it to the grid, how to connect it to the resources. Okay, there's a solar plant or there's a wind hydropower plant that are making. How do we synchronize those? How do we charge batteries in a right way? How do we discharge batteries in a right way? How the seamless grid integration happens? How do we manage the peak power supply using these battery sources? So we do provide something called as battery energy storage system and the management system along with that. We have already implemented one of these in Lakshadweep, which has decarbonized that island to completely.
So tell us a little more about that, the implementation at Lakshadweep and what has the impact been on the people of that area?
So before this project came up, a lot of electricity in these remote islands used to be with diesel generators. So a lot of diesel used to be transported into these islands and used to provide electricity. Today, Lakshadweep has put a solar plant. With the battery energy storage system, today you don't need that diesel supply anymore. You can be completely you can completely work that island on green electricity without external sources. So imagine how much amount of boat trips you have saved. Imagine how much amount of fossil fuels you have saved, and also made the island cleaner and greener.
And one of the fuels of the future is also often called the unsung hero is biofuel, or fuel made from biomass or the waste from our houses, our industries. Now, how big is that opportunity for India, and what is it going to take for us to really dig deep into that one? Because we seem to be scratching the surface as far as biomass is concerned, even though we have so much waste production happening on a daily basis in India.
One word I always remember when I studied my engineering was, waste is a misplaced resource. One man's waste could be another man's fortune. If this waste, whether it is a stubble that is available outside Delhi region or any other region, okay, if you can use this waste, bio waste, and convert it into SAF, it provides with a cleaner fuel which is 80% less greenhouse gas emission than the normal fossil fuel. A fantastic a replacement for it. Second, it also helps our country who is marching towards an energy independence, because this is what we are using: locally available feedstock, locally available waste stock, and convert it into fuel. Every dollar we use internally, we are saving our external fossil fuel imports, crude oil imports. So that's first. Then we also are using any kind of waste, whether it is used cooking oil, whether it is whatever waste products are available, municipal solid waste, all of that can be today converted into SAF. And we are working on those projects in India and outside India.
Right. So at Honeywell, what kind of innovative technologies are you, offering to help scale up the production as well as the deployment of biofuels, adoption of biofuels around the world?
So We are developing multiple pathways, correct? We offer today, as of today, we offer 9 pathways, and we are not done yet. We started with 1, we are 9, and we are still improving and adding more and more. We look at 2 options. One, what pathway suits the region where it will make sense. Second, how to make it more efficient, which means more cheaper. So we are working on both options. Today, we started with used cooking oil. As of today, we have sold almost 54 of those across the globe. Ethanol to jet, we have already licensed some of the technologies. Methanol to jet, we have already licensed some of those technologies. So we want some of the technology. We are in active discussion in India, and probably we'll see some of those announcements coming soon, taking India into that direction as well.
Yes, and we are all awaiting those announcements. But, well, it's time for a short break right now. The conversation on India's energy transition continues on the other side. After the break, we'll talk about sustainable aviation fuel, green hydrogen, and lots more. Stay with us right here on CNBC TV18.
Honeywell and CNBC TV18 present India Energy Transition Summit.
Welcome back to this special conversation on the sidelines of the Honeywell and CNBC TV18 India Energy Transition Summit. On the show today, I'm in conversation with Ranjit Kulkarni, Vice President and General Manager, Energy and Sustainability Solutions at Honeywell India. And our focus is on the role of cutting-edge technologies in India's quest for net zero emissions by 2070. Well, Ranjit, we've been talking about different types of clean energies and clean fuels that India can transition into by 2070 to achieve the net zero goals. Let's talk about the aviation sector, huge emitter of CO2 gases. Honeywell is really spearheading some technological advancements in that space. In your opinion, what role is SAF, or sustainable aviation fuel, going to be playing in bringing down greenhouse gas emissions in the next couple of years, in the next decade or so for India? And what's it going to take for us to mainstream adoption of SAF?
So what we have seen is when we look at aviation sector, okay, we look at 2 sides of it. It's the land side and it's the aircraft side. Land side is easier to decarbonize by all the electrification, be it the airports or be at the land side movements that happen on the ground. If you look at aircraft, there are 3 levers. One, we improve the operational efficiency and make it more fuel efficient, faster with lighter materials. Second, we look at battery technologies to fly the aircraft, but this is at least few decades away from becoming commercial reality. So that leaves SAF as the most important factor, which will help decarbonize. The moment we switch to SAF, we are looking at 80 to 90% greenhouse gas emission reduction. Yeah. That accounts for a big portion what aviation industry can do. If you look at Indian aviation industry, which is 3rd largest in the world, definitely we have a bigger role to play. We are 3rd largest, we are growing, and with 100 more airports coming in 10 years, this sector needs to be green. This sector needs to be sustainable. Sustainability is good, but it also has to be bankable. And unless projects are bankable or affordable, they don't move. Yeah. To move that, we are looking at different varieties of feedstocks. Whatever available is local, can it be processed? So we are looking at that options. Technologies are developed around that. We also are looking at efficiencies within the technology, how we can make same amount of SAF with much better catalyst management, much better heat integration, much better process optimization. So we look at that. And then third one comes in the specifications, correct? We make sure that SAF we produce with the new types are also certified as a drop-in replacement. They have to go through rigorous testing. So we work with airline industry during their testing programs, also with the certifying bodies to make sure it meets all the requirements as we develop new pathways.
The government has given a big push to adoption of green hydrogen production and adoption of green hydrogen. What steps is Honeywell taking to help build the entire green hydrogen economy and ecosystem in India, given the fact that it is a tough fuel to handle and it is an expensive fuel?
So there are three parts of the hydrogen chain. One is the biggest cost of hydrogen comes from the cost of electricity. So as the power gets cheaper and cheaper, the cost of making green hydrogen will get cheaper. The second portion comes the electrolyzer, where actually water is split into hydrogen and oxygen. We do provide membranes that goes into this electrolyzer, which are far more efficient than the existing one. So we are working on developing those membranes to make hydrogen or electrolyzer more economical. Now, once the hydrogen is produced, how do we take it safely across? It can be taken in, recently there are three known or acceptable format. One, you take it in form of ammonia, you can take it in form of methanol, or third one, which we call it as a liquid organic hydrogen carrier. And we believe that also has a very big important role to play, because carrying out hydrogen or transporting hydrogen is very risky. Okay, it's a very flammable material, but also it has to be handled in a very sensitive way. It's at a high pressure. What liquid organic hydrogen carrier does, it uses your existing gasoline molecule. You put it in and you carry it. So you can use your existing gasoline tanks, gasoline tankers, gasoline infrastructure. So you save the cost of that infrastructure that goes in. That makes it very, very easy to approach, and also people understand the risk of that infrastructure. Yeah. And when you take it at the other end, you just dehydrogen it, you take the hydrogen molecule back, give it to the industry that needs it, and bring back the gasoline molecule and start doing that again. So we recycle it back and back. The carrier comes back and back. And we believe this will also have a key role where industries need pure hydrogen for their processes.
Right, right, absolutely. Well, as we are looking at the larger picture of India's energy transition, and we are looking to accelerate India's energy transition to green fuels, what are some of the key challenges in terms of infrastructure, in terms of logistics, supply chain, operational efficiencies? What would be on your roadmap? What are the key challenges that need addressing to really make this smoother, and which are the areas where you're looking for public-private collaboration and partnership?
Most important driving factor is the market. What does market need and when does it need? So today we have seen, for example, in India, the green ammonia market is very vibrant. Correct? There are tenders which are out. They are looking for green ammonia. That has suddenly generated all the excitement in the downstream. Okay, everybody is now actually looking into commitments of that. They are starting into investing in that sector. Yeah. Similarly, green hydrogen is also part of that supply chain. Once the green ammonia moves, it will take green hydrogen along with it. Policies are required to make sure that these policies are helping plug some of the viability gaps. The mandates are there to make sure investors have confidence that this is not something a wishful thing, but there are mandates, which means there is a certain demand, and when there's a demand is certain, my investment is secure. So we look at that. Third is we also look at the industry innovation. Is industry excited to put their dollars into R&D in driving this sector? For that gives a confidence to industry, yes, this will evolve and the cost curve will keep coming down. Yeah. And then the fourth is an ecosystem. Is this an area for niche or elite, or is this where you can have a masses come together? If it is a moment for masses where we see people will come, if it's a farmers can get in as a part of the system, others can be part of this ecosystem and they are benefiting, government feels more positive about it. It starts bringing everybody together and creates a new industry, new jobs. And we feel all of these are required. Challenges are there, but we are all working through it as we get along the process.
And, innovation is a large part of that success. Honeywell, of course, is a pioneer as far as technological innovations are concerned. So, give us a few examples of technology innovations in the energy and clean energy space that have had a huge impact in other parts of the world that perhaps can be implemented in India as well, or some uniquely Indian customizations that you all have done for the Indian market.
So I'll go a little bit back in the history. So 30, 40 years ago, a lot of people, we used to use lead in our gasoline. Honeywell brought up a technology which today has replaced all the lead. And at that point, when we said that you could make a gasoline which has the same impact without lead, people did not believe. So we had to sponsor a Formula One car called a shadow car in those days to prove that a Formula One car can win without a lead added to the gasoline. Lead is a biohazard, correct? It's a carcinogenic. So that was. Second, today, a lot of detergents we are using are biodegradable detergents. We pioneered that. So today we make more than 95% of the more than 90% of the biodegradable detergents are made using our technology, which means it makes your planet safer because they degrade. We are looking at plastics which can degrade without in a much faster way in 8 to 9 months. So we are looking at multiple options on efficiency improvement. But these are three other key technologies which we think are around but many people are not aware that this were introduced by us.
And they are changing our daily lives without us knowing.
Without knowing, yes.
Yeah. Well, finally, what would you say are the top 3 milestones or the top 3 low-hanging fruits that India can really aim at for the near term for a successful and quick energy transition to renewable sources?
The first low-hanging fruit is energy efficiency improvement. Okay, that's where we can, I think every customer we are looking at, whether you're operating a building, whether you're operating a refinery or any other industrial asset. The second quickly I can talk about is renewable electricity. We are making great strides in those renewable electricity investment. And then the third one is biofuels, which we are sitting, as I say, on a gold mine. We need to dig wisely and make sure that we capitalize on what we have. And that's very critical towards our energy independence.
Right. And to dig that gold mine, we will need innovative technologies. So as we peep into the future, give me that one technological innovation or technology that you're most excited about at this point in time.
At this point of time, I'm very excited about SAF. I think that's quite happening, and I want to see some of this project coming to reality very soon.
Fantastic. We hope that comes about very soon and looking forward to all the innovations that come out of the Honeywell stable. Ranjit, absolute pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, that brings us to the end of this insightful conversation. As the world's third largest CO2 emitter with energy consumption 3 times the global average and still rising, India faces an urgent need to adopt tech-driven, sustainable solutions to reduce emissions and transition smoothly to green energy. The journey ahead is challenging, but the potential for innovation is immense. We hope you found those insights valuable. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.
Honeywell and CNBC-TV18 present India Energy Transition Summit.